In the event of the complete destruction of the Earth, a bunker on the moon could save earthly life. I will tell you all about it today, so stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and if you like it, please give it a thumbs up or leave a comment so that the video gets shown to even more people. Thank you very much, everyone, and welcome. Imagine if you found out that the apocalypse was just around the corner. Where or would you flee to? Maybe to Siberia, or to the Arctic, or how about escaping to the moon? The idea of a bunker to save life on our satellite has now been conceived by a research team from the University of Arizona. The concept includes a doomsday vault, that is, an apocalypse bunker beneath the surface of the moon. And that's where the egg cells, sperm stem cells, and seeds of 6.7 million terrestrial species are to be stored. The research team calls the whole thing a global insurance policy for life on Earth. Now you might ask yourselves, why should the whole thing be built on the moon? Logistically, it's not exactly obvious, but the whole thing is supposed to be in case of the complete destruction of the Earth. If all life on Earth dies due to a gigantic catastrophe, you would still have this emergency bunker on the moon, and there are actually many advantages. In 2013, so-called lava tunnels were discovered under the moon's surface that are up to 100 meters in diameter and several billion years old. You could easily build a bunker there. This would have the advantage that the Doomsday Vault would be protected in these lava tunnels from micrometeorites that constantly hit the moon, or from dangerous space radiation, or from the not-so-pleasant temperatures on the moon. During the day it is really hot and at night incredibly cold. It's not quite as simple as it sounds. In reality, the research team has meticulously calculated that approximately about 250 rocket launch missions would be required in order to successfully achieve this and bring 50 samples of the 6.7 million species to the moon. 250 rocket launch missions is really extremely prohibitively expensive and highly complex. Additionally, this base would somehow need to be powered. That's essential so that the samples can be stored at a cool temperature, and they would most likely try to achieve that with solar panels in order to. Whether that will work is highly questionable. Is it really realistic that such an apocalyptic scenario could indeed happen? One that could potentially and truly affect life on the entire planet in any conceivable and imaginable way? Absolutely, because that sort of thing has happened several times in the past. There have been mass extinctions several times throughout evolutionary history. The most well-known is probably the notably significant mass extinction about 66 million years ago, when a large part, though not all, of the dinosaurs went extinct indeed in particular. And something like that could happen again in the future. A meteorite impact or a gamma-ray burst could hit the Earth. A bit less likely perhaps is an alien invasion or whatever. But if you let your imagination run wild, you can think of a few things that could significantly limit biodiversity on Earth. Jack Contenga is a professor of engineering at the University of Arizona, and he's working on this project, Doomsday Vault, and he's thinking above all of the eruption of supervolcanoes on Earth. He says the following: we humans almost became extinct 75,000 years ago due to the Toba supervolcano eruption, which caused a 1,000-year cooling period and, according to some, was accompanied by a decline in human diversity. A brief digression on the Toba supervolcano eruption. About 75,000 years ago, the Toba supervolcano in present-day Indonesia must have erupted. This is undisputed, and the volcanic eruption was probably felt globally because a great deal of ash was ejected. The Toba supervolcano hypothesis. It states that this led to a so-called genetic bottleneck in modern humans. To understand this, you need to know that you and I are actually very closely related. All humans that exist today are genetically relatively similar. And that's where the Toba hypothesis comes in. In the past, it wasn't the case that Homo sapiens ruled the world all on their own. In Africa, Homo sapiens lived, while in Europe there were Neanderthals and Homo floresiensis, and they all gradually disappeared. The Toba hypothesis states that the volcanic eruption caused global temperatures to drop, leading to the near extinction of all other species of the genus Homo, or they mixed with the remaining Homo sapiens. According to this hypothesis, Homo sapiens almost went extinct as well. Only a few thousand individuals are said to have survived in Africa and then reproduced with each other, eventually populating the Earth. And since we all supposedly descend from these 1,000 individuals, we are genetically so similar. An interesting hypothesis, but there are archaeological findings that contradict it. It is assumed that the Toba volcanic eruption spread a 15-centimeter layer of ash over Asia, as was discovered during archaeological excavations. But human tools have been discovered both under and above the ash layer. This must mean that humans survived the Toba catastrophe, which argues against the genetic bottleneck hypothesis due to the Toba eruption. Incidentally, similar doomsday bunkers already exist on Earth. One of the most well-known is the global seed vault on Spitsbergen. Svalbard is a Norwegian island chain in Arctic waters. Seeds from the most important plants on Earth are stored in the permafrost there. In the seed vault in Svalbard, there's no research being done on the plants or anything like that. It's simply about having the seeds of the most important crops stored for emergencies, like for example, wheat, potatoes, rice, nuts, root vegetables, and so on. One example scenario where this would be important is, for instance, that a global pest wipes out wheat crops all over the world. It's not impossible. And then you could simply import new seeds from the global seed vault after dealing with the pest. The reason why it was built on Svalbard is that, on the one hand, a disaster scenario is very unlikely there, and on the other hand, the temperature is very useful. The seeds will be cooled down to -18 degrees Celsius, and even if all electricity were to fail, the permafrost soil on Spitsbergen would ensure that the temperature never rises above -3 degrees. Now, of course, you might say, why do we need another doomsday vault on the moon? We already have one in Spitsbergen and a few others. But that doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. On the contrary, the bunker on Spitsbergen is super important and will surely be used at some point if there is an earthly catastrophe scenario that doesn't destroy the whole Earth. Having additional insurance in case the entire planet is really affected can't hurt. And if that additional insurance is off-planet, all the better, right? What do you think? Feel free to share your thoughts on this. Is the Doomsday Vault on the moon a worthwhile project? Or do you think it's a complete waste of money? Let's hope that there won't be a destruction of the planet and that the Doomsday Vault on the moon will never be needed. A potential disaster scenario could be a so-called pole shift. What it is and whether it's imminent, you'll find out in the video displayed. Click on it. As always, you will find another video at the bottom right that the algorithm has selected especially for you. And you certainly don't want to disappoint the algorithm, do you? Otherwise, I'd say see you in the next video. Take care, folks.